Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Another day, another Galaxy S20 comparison. And as you guys know, the Samsung Galaxy S20 is the newest phone right now that Samsung made. And it's actually one of the newest phones ever as of right now. So I figured, last year I did all those S10 comparisons. I don't need to justify my comparisons. I'm done doing that. However, we're going to talk about and compare it to one of the older iPhones, which was honestly not one of the best selling iPhones, but for some reason a lot of you guys like seeing these videos. So we're going to go ahead and compare the Galaxy S20 to the iPhone X. Now, there's a lot of differences here, and obviously there's a lot of similarities too. I mean, both phones have kind of revolutionized a lot of those companies. The Galaxy S10 more so, but still the S20 brought a lot to the table. The iPhone X also brought a lot to the table at the time, and the iPhone X came out in 2017. The Galaxy S20 just came out like a week ago barely. So it's going to be very interesting to compare both of these phones and see, their strong suits, see what they bring to the table, and see which one you should pick up. Now, in terms of the price points, the Galaxy S20 costs about that $1,000. So by the time you're watching this, it's going to be out publicly, and even more so, it's probably, if you're watching this like a couple months down the line, the Galaxy S20 might have actually depreciated a little bit in terms of the used market. Where the iPhone X, when it first started off, when it came out in 2017, it costed that $1,000, but right now it does not cost $1,000. It costs far less, and you can actually pick one up on Amazon for less than $400. So that's a crazy amount to pay for a phone like the iPhone X. And to give you some perspective, the Galaxy S8 that came out the same year as the iPhone X, that phone cost about $200 on Amazon, maybe a little bit less. So you can see the amount of depreciation that those phones see than the iPhone series. Now, the Galaxy S8, in its defense, did cost a little bit less, but I'm curious to see what the Galaxy S20's depreciation will be, because Samsung didn't do that same type of trade-in value that they did before. So I'm curious to see what happens, but I'm sure it's still going to depreciate a ton. Now, if you want to pick up the iPhone X or the Galaxy S20 for those prices that I just said, those links down in the description will take you to Amazon. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. So those will be the first links down there. Now, looking on the front, the iPhone X has that 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display, and it's a very good panel. It's 1125 by 2436, and this was the first time in Apple's lineup that we ever saw a phone not only not have the home button, but also pretty much remove it and get the gesture-based design and get almost all bezel on it, which was one of the coolest things Apple ever did. And it's still, they still have that same design, so it still is held up. There's no crazy things that the iPhone 11 Pro in terms of the display can do that the iPhone X can't do. So that display has held up very well. It's a very good panel, and the phone overall still feels like a very good premium $1,000 phone for the most part. So for sure, that display on the iPhone X is definitely one of my favorite things about it. Where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's a 1440p panel, and that one is such a good panel, it's not even funny. It's one of the best panels I've ever seen. You have far less bezel on that than you do on the iPhone X, as obvious it is. You have the top bar on the notch on the iPhone X, where you only have that hole punch display on the S20, which is one of my favorite things ever. And for sure, the S20's display is very, very good without a doubt. But there's also two cool advantages with the Samsung Galaxy S20 that the iPhone X does not have. So there's an inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display of the Galaxy S20, where the iPhone X does not have any type of fingerprint sensors in the display at all, which is not a big deal. Some people might care, some people might not, but that is something to consider when you're picking up a phone like the iPhone X. But another thing the Galaxy S20 has going for it is that 120Hz refresh rate on that display, and that's one of the coolest things ever. I don't think I've ever seen this on a phone before. I've seen this on tablets, and I know like the Asus ROG Phone 2 or whatever now has that, which is very cool. So the Galaxy S20 wasn't the first one to bring it, but to a huge, large, massive scale. This phone's going to be at every Best Buy, it's going to be at every AT&T and Apple and T-Mobile store and Verizon store, all those. I mean, this is going to be publicly available to a ton of people, and a ton of people are going to see it. So it's cool that Samsung brought it out like that, and now pretty much every single phone after this might have it too, so that's really cool. So between the displays, the iPhone X has a very good display. The Galaxy S20 definitely wins there. Samsung Galaxy S20 has USB Type-C on the bottom. The iPhone X has a lightning port on the back, dual camera setup on the iPhone X, and a triple camera setup on the Samsung Galaxy S20. And the way they feel and everything in the hand, they definitely feel very premium. Both feel pretty much the same, to be honest. But the iPhone X, I think honestly in a way kind of feels more premium. It doesn't really necessarily look more premium, but there's something about the iPhone 10 that makes me kind of feel like that one looks like it, but because it's still, the design is still pretty much used over and over again, so it definitely still gets a thumbs up in my books for the design. The Galaxy S20 still has the microSD card slot in the phone as well, which was taken out of the Galaxy S6 but then brought back to the Galaxy S7. I feel like I have to bring that up every single time. It's just a little trivia. And that really pretty much covers it up in terms of the outside. I don't think one is the best phone overall, but definitely the Galaxy S20 is the better phone in terms of the design and in terms of the display for sure. And the display is something you're going to be looking at every single day, so it's very important that you have a good display that you like looking at. Now, both phones do have IP certification. The iPhone 10 has IP67 dust and water resistance, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has IP68 dust and water resistance. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it. Now, hitting on the software, the iPhone 10 started off with iOS 11.1.1. We are able to get iOS 13.3.1 on it right now, which is really cool. So in terms of the software, I mean, it still has a couple more versions of software left on it. The main thing to keep in mind is that the iPhone 10 came out the same year as the Galaxy S8. The Galaxy S8 is now unsupported with software, but the iPhone 10 is still getting software updates, and I'm pretty sure it's going to last as long as the iPhone 10s, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 just started with One UI 2, so it's definitely going to be lasting for quite a bit of time. It's not stopping anytime soon, but I think even at this point, the iPhone 10 might actually outlast the Samsung Galaxy S20 in terms of software. Now, there's no way to 100% verify this, but that might just be the case, and if that actually happens, I'm literally going to cry in my sleep, because that's something that Samsung really needs to. That phone costs $1,000. The Galaxy S20 costs like $1,400, which is insane. So definitely for sure, Samsung needs to go reevaluate themselves and support their phones longer, and if they don't, then I'm going to be super sad. So if the iPhone 10 actually outlasts the Galaxy S20, that's going to be the craziest thing ever. So in terms of software lifecycle, I honestly don't know which one's going to outlast the other, but the iPhone 10 is pretty much going to be right next to the Galaxy S20 in terms of software updates. So now moving on to the performance side of things, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 650 GPU, and there's only one model of the Samsung Galaxy S20, and that's that 128GB model with 12GB of RAM, where the iPhone 10 has the Apple A11 Bionic chip, a hexa-core CPU, and there's two different models of the iPhone 10, a 64 and 256GB models, and both those models have 3GB of RAM. And I did a little bit of speed test between them, but obviously I'm going to be doing a bigger speed test between them, a whole dedicated video, so make sure you guys don't miss that one whenever I drop it. But between this one, you can still see that the Galaxy S20 is the faster phone overall. It was just faster basically every single time, and that's really no fault to the iPhone 10. That's still a very capable phone, but obviously, when you're comparing the brand new chipset, the newest chipset from a chipset manufacturer to an older chipset, I mean, that's kind of what happens. But the iPhone 10, surprisingly, is still a very good performing phone. There's really nothing in me that makes me think that it's like a horrible performing phone, because it's obviously not. It's still completely capable. It still has a lot going for it, and even though it's not the best one compared to the Galaxy S20, it still has a lot of value in it, in my opinion. So between both of them, I'll probably give the edge obviously to the Samsung Galaxy S20. It is the faster phone, it's just the better phone in terms of performance overall, but the iPhone 10 really is kind of right next to it. But what I will say though, and like I've said before, with my Galaxy S10 that I bought last year, I was pretty much saying the same things. I was like, it's super fast, it's probably the fastest phone in the market, all that stuff, but now it's actually pretty slow, and I think it's slower than my iPhone 10s, and that phone has really gotten bogged down over time with software updates and all those things. So I'm curious to see how the Samsung Galaxy S20 will hold in terms of its value and in terms of its power performance in the later coming updates in the later coming years, because most of the time Samsung phones tend to get slower faster over time than the iPhone. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But in terms of performance, as of right now, the Samsung Galaxy S20 will definitely win. Now hitting on the cameras, the iPhone 10 has a dual camera setup, a wide angle lens, and then a telephoto lens. The Samsung Galaxy S20 has a triple camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, a 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. And both phones on those cameras are really nice. On the front camera, 7 megapixel on the iPhone 10, 10 megapixel on the Galaxy S20. We're able to do 4K at 60 frames on the S20, where we can only do 1080p at 30 on that front camera on the iPhone 10. But on that back camera, I will say obviously the Galaxy S20 is the better camera here in terms of the quality, in terms of pretty much everything. I feel like the Galaxy S20 is the better camera sensor for sure. cheaper. Now the better thing is and probably one of the craziest things is that, you know, most phones nowadays have triple camera setups, so that's a given, that's obvious. But the coolest thing is that on the Samsung Galaxy S20, you're able to shoot 8K videos, which is insane, and that's something that a lot of phones cannot do in the market right now. I can't even name any off the top of my head that can do that, but the Galaxy S20 has that capability, which is very, very insane. So if you're somebody who wants to shoot 8K videos, you have that capability on this camera, but nobody's really going to do it realistically. But it's just the fact that we have that capability that is just super, super cool. So the Galaxy S20 will definitely win in terms of the camera department for sure, hands down. I mean, that's a given. So, but I will do a separate camera test between these two if you guys want to see it. But moving on to the battery life, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 4,000 mAh battery. The iPhone X has a 2,716 mAh battery, and between both of them, I think both of them have pretty okay battery life, but the Galaxy S20 definitely has a better battery life for sure. It doesn't even have the best battery life if I'm being honest, but it has pretty decent battery life on it, which is really nice. Now, I say it's pretty decent because I do have the 120Hz refresh rate on it, and if you have an S20 and you're not utilizing that, that's kind of like weird because that's a huge feature of it. But again, if you turn that off, the battery life will be much, much better on the Samsung Galaxy S20, and it's definitely far better than the iPhone Xs. You know, the iPhone X's battery life has degraded over time. Unless you get it replaced, that's pretty much what you're stuck with. So in terms of the battery life and everything, that really pretty much covers it. Now to kind of answer the question into some of the video, you know, should you pick up a Galaxy S20 or should you pick up an iPhone X? Should you keep your iPhone X, whatever the case is? Now I will tell you, if you have an iPhone X, I would just recommend keeping it. Even if you want to go to a Galaxy S20, I would recommend keeping your iPhone X until like June or July, where the S20 prices start going down in the used market. That's probably the best thing I would recommend, especially if you want to keep it for, you know, a little bit longer. And plus the iPhone X prices aren't going to go down much more until the newer iPhones come out, and that's in September. So you can even keep this phone until like August or even like early September, sell it, probably keep the same amount of resale value and just pick up an S20 in the used market for cheaper. But if you have to go the brand new route, obviously pick up a Galaxy S20. It's the better phone. It has way more cooler features, but the software updates are kind of one thing that throw me off. You know, you're paying more for a phone like that, but an older phone from 2017 could potentially outlast that phone. So who knows? I mean, we'll figure it out later. But like I said, if you want to pick up either of these phones, both of them will be linked down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.